than your currency. Splurging millions, buying houses like Monopoly. Fucking 9 to 5, man, the money is a joke to me. Buying cryptocurrency, my money in the privacy. I make it rain dollars, they watch me disappear.
Hey guys and girls, welcome to this week's episode of the No BS with Birchy podcast. I'm your host, Nathan Birch, and this is a show unraveling the truth to the facade of the 21st century. We're now exiting the matrix and waking up to motherfucking reality. And that we are this week, guys, that we are. I want to talk about something very controversial this week. There's a lot of people talking about certain things. Let's call it the procedure. Let's call it the procedure, because we don't want to be getting banned or anything like that on any of the platforms. So, we'll work with what we've got. But a lot of people are refusing to take the medical procedure, which I think is good. A lot of people out there, a lot of respect, a lot of kudos. If you don't wish to do that, if you wish to do it, then good luck to you and all the best. But I seem to have a lot of people messaging in, typing in, emailing in, all that sort of stuff about what to do to get out of the matrix. And this is a show to, understand how the system works. And this is a show to, realize that we do live in the matrix and that we have very much seen the last 12, 24 months. And, people don't want to be, pressured into certain things doing to their body. And, in any other time in history, it would be deemed as very bad to force someone or coerce someone to, perform a trick or do something that they didn't wish to do. And we're in the world today where, everybody is being forced and pressured into certain medical procedures that are in trial stages that have not been tested. We don't know. We're not allowed to question. We're not allowed to have the debate about, whether you should or you shouldn't. And so many people are standing up against it. So many people have, bowed down and accepted it. And, whatever you wish to do for yourself. It's not for me. It's not for a lot of people that we know and that are in the community. And that's what I'm really proud and excited for, because, wealth is one thing, right? I talk about property, talk about investing, talk about, how to take control of your life. The slogan for B.Invested is to live life on your terms. The reason why I invested in the property is because I didn't want to be forced into a job and waste 40 years of my life. And, to think that we would be in some form of spiritual warfare going 12, 13 years later after the start of the business, I never would have seen this one coming. But, it certainly, a lot of people, I think, they come to me because they're like, Nathan, you've been able to, get yourself out of the matrix. You don't have to conform to society. You don't have to, be pressured into doing whatever you want to do. And, that's where, I think a lot of people are coming out and say, Nathan, what can I do? How can I protect myself? So, and there's also people that are quitting their jobs, and I've seen people from all different walks of life, whether you be a tradie. I know dozens of nurses. They're like, I'm seeing all the injuries coming through, from the procedure, and we cannot be a part of it. We don't want it in us, and they're seeing, all the negative effects of it. So a lot of nurses that don't want to do it, a lot of teachers that are quitting their job, a lot of people that are in high-paying jobs that are, now at a position where they're sort of financially destitute because they haven't, got themselves into a position where they don't have to rely on their job. And always said, you can either get money from going to work, selling your time, selling your energy, selling your effort, or you can go and, build passive income streams. And I think, breaking it down to the simplest formats, a lot of people in the world at the moment that are feeling pressured and feeling stuck, they're like, okay, most people just go, we'll conform and we will take the procedure and we'll just do what we're told, and that's what we're meant to do. However, there's a lot of people sitting there going, well, it's not for me, and they might be overwhelmed, scared, or whatever. And, I was talking to one of our investors the other day. He called me up and he said to me, Nathan, I'm a bit depressed. My kids aren't allowed to go and play with their friends anymore. The kids are now missing out because we don't want them to have the medical procedure. I'm not allowed to go out to the shops. We can't go get a haircut. Well, look, Birchy's got fresh cuts. There's ways to make things happen. And, I said to my investor that, what's the alternative plan? He goes, well, I want to go to another country around the world. And I said, well, cool, go to another country. Let's go to some third world country where your water doesn't even flow and things aren't even great. And, go and be free there. But are you really free there? Because this is not just something that they're attacking us in Australia on. This is something that's a global problem that is in all of our lives. So you see, you can up and leave the country, but this isn't a country problem. This is a global problem. And I said, so what is your real problem? If your kids don't want to go and interact with the other ones, do you really want them with parents like that if that's the way that you're going to be, or do you want to redesign your life? And he's like, good point. And I said to him, tell me about the other problems. He goes, well, I can't go to the shops. And I was like, think about all the countries around the world. There's so many countries where the wealthy people don't go to the shops. I couldn't think of anything worse than being stuck in a shopping centre. People are going to shopping centres. Every time I go there, I get angry, get frustrated. You've got parking issues. You've got people just standing in your way. People are justifying their life by being at the shop and all those sorts of things. I couldn't think anything worse than being stuck in a shopping centre. But, in any other country, you would see that the wealthy would then have their servants, as we could call them, or whatever they are called, to go and be their driver, right? I know lots of people that have migrated to the country that have drivers, they have cleaners, they have cooks, they have hairdressers, they have garden people, they have people that go in as their personal assistant that live in their house. So, for me, there's a few changes to my life. Certainly, my life is not what it was beforehand, but my life has gone on pretty much the same as what it was. And, there's some people that are really stuck. They might have family overseas. They may have to, travel and, they're stuck, and they might have to be pressured into, doing something they don't want to do. But in essence, I guess we've all got options. We've all got choices. Yes, they are sacrifices. Yes, they are commitments. Every time I've had a decision that I've had to make, it's either got me closer to my goal, got me further away from my goal. And, those options and choices that I take at a certain time get me to wherever I want to be. So if you are flat out refusing it, I think, this is a really good time to redefine yourself, work out who you are. And the reason why I say that is adversity always brings on growth and always brings on change. People, quite often go, oh, it's all too much. I'm just not going to do it, or I'm going to cave in, or whatever the case may be. But whenever you've had a breakthrough, there's always been some form of adversity. Just think about any times you've been through pain in your life, any problems that you've had come your way, and what the outcome of those problems have been, and what the solutions that you've been able to find from that. And let's look at a few of them, right? Like, so you can't do your job anymore. Well, let's say you're, 40 years old, you've been working in your job for 20 years, and now you're about to lose your job. Well, maybe that's an opportunity for you to sit there and go, my life was so shit that I had to be stuck in this job, and I don't even want to be in this job. The job doesn't respect me. Let's think about this. This was a real issue, a real pandemic, right? Let's just say when there's a fire on, right? Everywhere's on fire, and we need as many firefighters as we can. So they'll get volunteer firefighters, they'll get civilians to come and hold the hoses and wash down buildings or whatever. You would have volunteers coming in. If this was a real pandemic and it wasn't a scamdemic, why would they be, sacking nurses and forcing people to get out of their job if they don't wish to take on the procedure? There's lots of questionable things about it. So if you're feeling bad because your job doesn't want you anymore, well, yes, you've got the pain because you have no money today, but the money is temporary. It's only a part of the system. I think it's important to sit there and go, okay, what can I do in my life to change my position so I'm not reliant upon that, and I will never be stuck in that position again? Because as I said from the start of this, I've been very happy because I've been very blessed, but it wasn't because just by chance that I've been blessed that I don't have to, be coerced in any of this sort of stuff. I've been blessed because of the options and the choices I've taken. There's been lots of sacrifices, a lot of commitment over the years to be able to get to that position. So, a lot of people are sitting there right now going, okay, shit, I'm either going to get the procedure or I'm going to have no job. And if you're in that decision, well, there's always something that you can do. You may not be able to drive Uber. You may not be able to do, whatever. But you could start up your hobby. You could go back to yourself and think back to your 20-year-old version of yourself or your 15-year-old version of yourself, thinking, what do I want to be when I grow up? How do I want to make an impact on the world? Because ultimately, if you, if you're not happy, if you're just doing your job because you have to for money, you're living a shit life. You shouldn't be doing anything for money. You should be doing the things you want in your life and being paid for that accordingly. So if you're unhappy with your job or your career, think about, where are you today? What is it that you want to be? Where do you want to be in 5 years, 10 years, 20 years time? I understand, some of you might be like, Nathan, it's all good and well for you to say that, but, we've got to put food on the table. Well, what can you do in your life to change it? What things can you change? Can you set up a business today? Can you sell off something? Can you sell off your car, right? For me, I would be going to war, right? Birchy can be an angry bloke sometimes, and I prefer not to be. Birchy can, I'm really, calm and tame and happy sort of guy that we always see. But if I was pushed to a certain point, I would lose everything for my personal rights, my personal freedoms, my personal liberties. And I'm not at a point where I'm going to be doing that. I don't think, for me personally, to break out and start swinging punches, it's not for me right now. But if it did get there, I would be, right? And if you need to build an army, well, I'll be ready there to work with you guys. But at this point in time, what options do I have? I always sit there and think, this is a position. I can't change the position that I'm at. I am in it, right? You can't change any of these positions. You've got to look at, where are those decisions going to lead us to that we take moving forward? What options and what vehicles do we have to divert this? So if you're sitting here in a shit position and you go, okay, I lost my job, I need 50 grand to get me through for the next year. Well, you need to find somewhere to get yourself 50 grand. You need to either find a new job that won't care about your status in the world. You need to find a new way of earning income where it doesn't matter about the status in the world. You need to, if I had to sell off a property, if I had to sell off all my properties not to get it, I would, because that's how passionate I am about this. So you need to work out, what options do you have? Could you sell your house? Could you refinance your house? Could you, tap into some other sort of income or some other part of equity? Here's just a simple one, right? You might be sitting there thinking, I don't know about the future of my job. I better not do anything, right? You might have a house that's worth $1 million and you now have the loan for $500,000. So while you've got your job, you could go and get yourself a loan and pull out some equity of $300,000. And with that $300,000, you would have 5 or 6 years worth of capital there before you had to be pressured into doing something. So I'm not sitting there, like some of you have got no job at the moment. I understand that. If you are stuck in a position that you really need help with, if you have no job, you're about to lose your job, you're being pressured into something you don't want to do, let me tell you, I will never be pressuring any of my team. I've got about 200 staff nationally in all different sorts of businesses and industries and walks of life, and none of them will be pressured into ever doing something they don't want to do with their body. So, and I don't care what other sort of regulatory Nazi-style bodies that could come out and try and control that. That's a freedom, it's a choice. I take as a privilege that my people that work and deliver, the community what they need in whatever relevant business it is. I take that as a privilege, so I wouldn't be forcing people to do something that they didn't wish to do. However, what other options, right? It's not just about having a job. What have you thought about for other income streams? What other income streams are there? I've talked about this in previous recent podcasts, talking about, businesses, shares, dividends, royalties. You could create a product, you could create an online business, you could flip things, right? If you're sitting there going, okay, I'm going to go to work and earn myself $1,000 this week or $2,000 next week, you could go and perform that task and be pressured to something you don't want to do. Or you could sit there and go, I might go and arbitrage vehicles, cars, right? So you could go find an old caravan for $2,000 and then go and sell that caravan for $4,000, make yourself $2,000. You might find a car and buy it for $5,000, sell it for $10,000. There's multiple different options out there to generate an income. And I think we should be looking at all of them. For me, the most sustainable income would be that from a fixed income source, like a property, a dividend, or some sort of annuity that would return to you. If you don't have the pleasure of having those sort of assets, you should be working towards them in your next 5, 10, 15, 20-year plan for you to be able to have that, that time, the freedom, and the energy, and the resources and ability of options in your life. However, if you don't have that, could you go and get $1,000 right now? Could you go get yourself $5,000? What could you buy? What could you flip and make some quick cash so you don't have to be stuck in that position where you have to, take a procedure? What sort of business could you start? What sort of talents do you possess? What sort of, things do you want to do in your life? And this isn't like, you're probably in a very uncomfortable position because you've never had to think about this beforehand. For me, I thought about it really early on. I don't want to sell 40 years of my life for a couple of $1 million. My life is more than a couple of $1 million. And reality is that if someone's on 50 grand a year for 40 years, that's $2 million. If someone's on 100 grand a year for 40 years, that's $4 million. So they value our life at about $2 to $4 million is the cost of a human life right about now. The system gets and generates from us probably about $500,000 to $1 million out of our time, energy, effort, and freedom in the form of taxes and whatnot for us to be a part of that system and to play our game. So really, you just need to find a way to be able to generate that cash flow that you'd have to sell your time for and have that coming through either reoccurring or passive or outside of that system. So business, shares, trading, flipping, arbitraging. Look at your expenses at the moment. Look at things that you could cut back on. If you are fearful in the future you may lose your job, plan for your finances beforehand. I'm not in an uncomfortable position. I've been in so many uncomfortable positions in my life. I still go through them every sort of couple of weeks. I put myself into a position where I'm pushing forward to get somewhere and it's uncomfortable. But I'm not in an uncomfortable position because of any sort of procedure that's being forced upon me. The uncomfortable positions that I've been in have been financial ones because I'm trying to do too many things at once or whatever. And, I've got multiple things that require my energy at that time on that day. But if you are in this position right now, it may be a bit overwhelming, but make sure that you walk through it with a solid head. Understand that adversity does bring upon change. It does give you the motivation to go, I don't want to do this, so I'm going to do that. And it is perfectly fine. If you are feeling uncomfortable right now, it is perfectly fine to go, okay, shit, I don't want to do this. When you do the procedure, you are going to be stuck with whatever that is into the future. You don't know what the outcome would that be from that. You know that the decision that you take today, you can always go and make that option if you want in the future, be your own guest. But once you do it, you can't go back from it. However, looking at your position, if you have no income, well, that's only a temporary problem. You've got to find a way to make that. And that's, I guess, at B.Invested, what we look at is building strategies to build wealth. Just going through my notes here with a few of the things that I've been looking at, of what you could do if you were stuck with this mandatory procedure. Start a business, invest, restructure, consolidate. Is it time you might have 10 properties already? Is it time that you go and sell off 3 of your properties and pay out the debt on the other 7 properties to get your cash flow? Just continuously review your cash flow position. Work out through the great reset that we're seeing at the moment, what can you reset in your own personal life? So, as I said, like recalibrate. Do you want to be more sustainable? I know so many people that are selling up their suburban houses. This is the thing, right? You could live a stressful life. You could be working an office job. You could be traveling from 40 minutes to an hour out of the city, into the city. Congestion, road traffic, all that sort of shit to pay the mortgage on your property, right? And all you're doing it for is to get yourself into a position so you can go and spend more time at the beach. When you retire, think about this, right? People say, when I retire, I wanted to do X, Y, Z. When I retire, I want to be able to go for long walks along the beach. I want to have a veggie garden. I want to live on a farm in the bush. I want to have a tree change. Well, then think about it today. If that's what you're to do when you retire, how can you bring that retirement forward and remove the position of reliance onto the job that you have? What could you do to do that? So if you're traveling 40 minutes to an hour into the city, you got all this traffic, you got all this crap, your house, you may not have even looked at your house value. People look at their house value and go, oh, my house is worth $1.5 million. I only paid $500,000 for it 10, 15 years ago, right? I know people that are selling their house that they live in now, and they are taking that capital from that property, and they might have $1 million profit. They might have 800 grand left over, and they're going, well, I don't need to live in Sydney anymore because I've got no job. I could move to 10 acres out of Cairns or 5 acres in the Whitsundays. And, I talk about, for example, these motels that I've been buying. I've got to pay staff wages for these things and all that. But if you were to buy a motel, I look at people paying $1 million for a house on 300 square meters in northwestern Sydney, and I just scratch my head. I'm like, shit, I can't justify that. And I think to myself, if I could buy a motel that's going to bring in 150 grand a year for $1 million, that's a better lifestyle. Imagine if you lived in a motel and ran it. There's an option there, right? Just throwing it out there. What could you do with your current position to move forward? Could you sell off your house? Could you go and live on that farm you want to live in? Could you move to a different state? Could you move to a different community? They're all options, right? If you've got no job, you're not too tied down to having to be there for Monday morning. Look at, firstly, and as I said beforehand, don't freak out. You don't want to be in a position where you go, okay, and look, you can't make a very comfortable decision without a sound mind. So I've been in very difficult positions over the years. I've been faced with so many, bits of adversity. I don't talk about them all that much, but I've had lots of it over the years, and I'm happy to talk about it, but they're just, things that have gone wrong. And I've seen how I've behaved, and I've seen how other people with identical problems have behaved, and the outcome that has come from that. People freaking out, people making irrational decisions, making emotional decisions. No war is won without a stable mind. And when people go to war, the victors are generally, you could have 2,000 people fighting 500 people, and the 500 people win because they're more strategic and they've got a stronger mind than the other 2,000 people that don't have their eye on the game. So, be very focused on that front. Follow your passions. You live today. We're alive. I'm not going to go and say you live once, because people walk from all different walks of life, and some people believe this is just a test, and whatever your belief system is. But if you were to live with the thought that this is the one life you have, well then, are you living the best life that you think you could be living, right? What options do you have to get yourself into a better life that's more aligned with who you are and where you want to be at today and into the future? And what options do you have in order to get yourself closer to that? That's what you need to look at. Look at your community. Look at people that have the same thoughts, the same interests, the same mindsets, the same belief systems, the same culture, because it may be very needed one day, to be able to work with inside that community. So whether it be a mechanic, a butcher, a teacher, a nurse, a barber, right? All these people are required, right? I'd have a big afro if I wasn't getting my hair cut. You need to have these communities where you can get the support and you can still operate within those communities. So as you do find people with similar interests, similar goals, similar outcomes, network with them and try and help each other out. We talk about equity in our homes. We talk about equity in what we do. What about equity inside us? What about the equity in our life? What about the equity in our relationships that we could improve ourselves with? Work out where you want to be in, not just today, not just to escape, right? Most people only plan for, the next holiday, their next vacation, their next paycheck, but rarely take the time to plan for their lives, right? How many people would be sitting there today listening to this? People could get the shits with me and say, oh, Birchy, why are you being like this, whatever. But I'm just saying it. I'm just saying what's fact, right? How many people have been locked down in their house for 3 months of their life, right? It's only 3 months or 6 months or 12 months. Let's say it's 12 months that they've been locked in their house, that they allow themselves to be locked down in their house and to obey without questioning the system. And they're like planning for what's going to happen when they get their freedoms, alleged and perceived freedoms back. They go out and they're going, I'm going to go on a holiday, I'm going to go shopping, I'm going to go to the movies, I'm going to go buy some food. How many people could have spent that time planning, how the fuck am I going to get out of this really shit and ugly situation? How am I going to take better control of my life? How am I going to make a stand that this shit's never going to happen again to me or to my family? How much planning's gone into that? I think about the planning my whole life about how my future is going to look, and I'm continuously working on things that I'm happy by, getting myself closer and closer to that, and that always changes and that always grows. And for me today, it's not about me planning about my future. I'm planning about my children's future and my grandchildren's future and, so on and so forth. And that's the game that I'm playing. And, you need to be thinking forward. You can't just be thinking about your problem today. So even if you've got the problem today, don't just go, this is the biggest problem that my life is ever going to face, because you could have bigger problems than what we are faced with today. And you need to plan for that on your strengths, your weaknesses, and really just do a SWOT analysis on it and go, okay, well, what can we do to push forward? Understand what your rights are. There is a lot of communities out there, whether it be in Telegram or on Facebook or on Instagram. If you do have similar sort of friendships, similar sort of connections, I get shit sent to me all day, every day. From you guys that are watching, I appreciate it. There's so much information and resources out there. Most people just bow down, believe in the TV and the screen that's giving them their information without questioning, almost like government and the media and the corporations are their new religion. And people just assume that that's truth without going and researching. So try and find alternative sources of truth, try and find alternative viewpoints to a side. With everything, you've got a positive and a negative sort of force to it. And it's important to sort of, work out what's right and what's not and what sits right with yourself. Get access to that and work out your rights. I'm not in a position where I'm forced in my job, so I don't have this one to worry about. I have people ask me all the time, and I know that there's some political parties out there on Telegram which can help. I know that there is some Know Your Rights. There's a thing on Facebook called Know Your Rights. It may not even be there anymore. It's called Know Your Rights. It's a Facebook page. I don't know much about that. There's some solicitors that are putting out lots of content throughout Telegram channels to give people an understanding of their rights. But basically, if I was to be forced, let's assume that Birchy's working in a job and he knows his boss is about to try and screw him sideways and ask for a mandate of a procedure, I would be putting it in writing and saying, look, I'm not anti getting the procedure, but I want you to give me an undertaking, because I wasn't going to be taking it. I want you to be giving me a personal undertaking and reply to this email confirming that if something goes wrong, you are forcing me to do something that's against my will, and I will do it in order to keep my job. But because it's not my will, I request that you, if something was to go wrong with the procedure, that you would support me and my family financially through that. So what that would do would open up liability to the employer, and it would put me in a position where they can't sack me. So if I'm being sacked for not taking it at that point, I have not said that I will not take the procedure. I have asked them to give me an undertaking. So it is them that the liability is being pushed on. So then you could be able to go back and potentially get them for unfair dismissal. So there's certain procedures that I would be doing if I was in someone's position, being pressured from this front, and trying to protect myself on that. What else do I have here that I wanted to talk about? Think about how your life will be, right? We want to go to a restaurant. We want to go to a concert. We want to go and get our freedoms back. If you had your freedom to start off with, right? People go, we live in the country of the free. Well, if you had your freedom to start off with, you wouldn't have been pressured into this, right? So there's no point about getting your freedoms back because you never had your freedoms to start off with. And I, like everyone, has been affected via this war, this spiritual holy war that's going on with our souls, that is, with the media, the propaganda and whatnot. I've had to just think about it and go, well, I know I'm living in the matrix. I know it's fake, right? Just because someone at the shop says you can't come in, well, if I can't go in and get food at a restaurant, that's fine. I'll go have a picnic across the road at the ocean and the beach. If I can't go out there and party and have drinks in the pub, right, I could go and spend time hanging out with my friends outdoors at the beach. Whatever the case may be, you need to look at the alternative and what solution do you have. You don't just have to go to a restaurant. You don't have to be stuck in a job. And I think for a lot of smart people, there's a lot of smart people out there that have been pressured into doing a procedure that they don't want to do, and they've gone, fuck it, I'm not going to take that on. And they have taken the ultimate sacrifice of losing their income source and putting themselves in a really shit financial position. But that has probably given them more of a shake-up in their life to get them thinking about the life they want to live. And most people will just ponder through their 60, 80, 100 years that they get without ever questioning that path that they're on, or any other reality that could form apart from the reality that they're faced with on the day. So I think being able to, take that time and go, well, I'm not happy with my job anyway, it's shit, right? Who wants to really get up at 6 a.m. or 7 a.m., brush their teeth, put on a suit, put on a tie, go hop in a train, lots of people coughing all over you, their grubby mitts all over all the stuff, and then be pushed out in a busy station, follow an order, follow a queue, get to your desk, get tied to your desk, get told you can have 1 hour worth of lunch, go out there, get some packaged up plastic cans of food that you're feeding yourself, pumping in from a fast food restaurant or any other sort of food that's full of GMOs out there. And I know that I'm going on a bit of a rant here right now, but you're starting to see the life that we're being presented is all a lie anyway. So create a life that you want on your terms, and it reverts back to straight away to what we started the business for going back 13 years ago, which is living life on your own terms. You want to have a sustainable life, you want to have a life which you can control, and you don't have a control in the situation. Let me just say that you do not have a control in the situation, the rules, the laws, the system. The whole system's broken, guys. The whole system's broken. You don't have a control in any of these parts of the system, and it's up to you to make the change within inside of you. So if you're not happy with it, go seek out the world that you wish to create and make the steps to get closer and closer to that. Whatever that may be for you, it could be, traveling, it could be sitting at the beach, it could be working on your farm, it could be spending more time with your kids, whatever it is. What do you need to do in order to be able to do that? Because let me tell you, the life that you have got right now, and if that's not the life that you wanted to live, think about that life that you wanted to live, because there's people out there living that life that you want to live, but you're not doing it. So what are the steps that you need to do in order to get to that? It could, there's options out there. If you want a job, I can give you a job. If you, but it's not about a job, right? If you want a job, you're just being a part of the system anyway. So what things could you do? What options do you have? What tools, what resources do you have? Every day, I reckon probably every day I'll get 1 to 2 people, or every second day, 1 to 2 people, maybe 3 people that'll say to me, Birchy, I'm selling my house. Birchy, I am going to go and move here. Birchy, I've quit my job, I'm not going to do it. They're people that are standing up. They're people that are like, fuck, I don't like my life. I don't like what's being presented to me. And let me tell you, these people aren't people that have got heaps of options. They're not people that have got, billions of dollars or millions of dollars or even $1 million to be able to do something. They're people that want to enjoy their life. They're people that want to do what they want to do. They're people that are knowing and are waking up to the fact that they've been sold a lie via the 12-year indoctrination camp. They're people that want to homeschool their kids. They're people that don't want to send their kids to the school and get them brainwashed as well. They're people just like you and I that, just want to live life. So, if you need help on planning for a better life, reach out to us. I don't know how I can help you out. I seem to have very interesting and colourful conversations with people today. It's not just I want to buy 3 properties because I want to. It's not just because I want to buy 10 properties because I want to make lots of money. It's more meaningful conversations that we're having, and strategic conversations about what can we do with where we are to get us A, to safety, and B, to where we want to be. And I think we are in a war. Like this, let's make no mistake about this. Is there a sickness? Is there not a sickness? I don't know about that. I'm not here to, make comments on that. Am I here to talk about, medical science? I don't wish to have that conversation with anybody, but I do not wish for people to oppress their views, their beliefs of that onto me. I just live my life how I wish, and I know there's a lot of people out there that want to live life how they wish, and that is your personal right. If you take that away, then what rights and what choices do you really have? We live in a communist system, and there's rules there, That's the rules that they set for us. Let's go play within those rules and make fun of what we can within the matrix. And on a final note, just to my my mate that my investor that was a bit sad and let down the other week of just how society had treated his kids and his relationships and whatnot with other people. I said to him, you could move overseas to that country, which is a third world country, but you wouldn't see your family, you wouldn't see your friends ever again, right? In the moment, it might sound great, let's escape, but let's look at the logistics of it. And I said, it would be probably a shitter world to go and live in that as well. I said, Neo in the Matrix, he knew that the Matrix was fake, but he understood how it worked. So Neo jumped into the Matrix, he knew that he was living in the Matrix, and he was able to control and own the parameters of that matrix, understand the world that you live in, understand the parameters of what you've got there, and you can try and jump out and live off the grid and be Amish and not have any connection with the world, which doesn't sound like a bad thing either. But at the same time, if you understand the tools, understand the resources, you can take control of the whole game as well and participate in the game. So, everyone's talking about this metaverse and the computer simulated reality. The whole society was fake to start off with. And I hate to break it to everyone, but it's the truth. And try and challenge me on it and see what answers you can seek from within inside that. But on that note, have assets. Assets are going to go up. They're going to keep printing money. They're going to keep controlling people. We're going to keep seeing oppression and people being suppressed and lots of bad things happening out there. We can fear the world, or we can take advantage of the opportunities that are out there. And I see so many opportunities, not just in 2021, but in 2022 and all the way out to the next 10 years. I can see so many opportunities. I can see a lot of people will get wiped out. A lot of people will get injured. A lot of people will get stuck. And, you can't go and change the system. It is what it is. But you can control where your life is heading. You can take charge of that. And if there's anything that we can do to help, whether it be just a chat, reach out to my team if it's a decision of should I sell, should I move, should I do this. Some things we can answer for you, some things we can't. If we can't answer it, maybe we can lead you to a closer path and help you answer those questions for yourself from within. So if you need help, you can reach out to us 1300 367 925. Email us at admin@binvested.com.au. Speak to the team, have a discovery session, see what options are out there. A lot of people feel like they only have one option because that's all they're getting presented in the view, or they might get two options, good or bad. Take this, your life's going to be okay or not. I don't want a pill. Why are you giving me a red, blue, or blue pill? I don't want either pill. Don't give me any pill, right? I want to, live my own life and do what I want, how I want. So that's what we're here for. If you need help, reach out to us. Remember, check out every Tuesday. We've got the podcast out. You can get us on Google, Spotify, Apple. Watch us on YouTube. See us on Facebook. Follow us on Instagram. And look forward to hearing your story, hearing about how you're taking charge of your life. Make sure, just without anything, even if you don't feel pressure at the moment and you're happy with where things are at, just question yourself, like, is it really right? And what can you do to get yourself into a better position? So thanks a lot for tuning in again, guys. Have a great day. Keep being safe and being awesome. Bye for now.
Like Bilal said, man, we're stuck in the matrix. This my advice, don't care if you take it. The dollar about to die, soon to be hyperinflated. This my 2 cents, don't care if you save it. Joint be decentralized and you will see you've been lied to the whole time, and it's the irony, cause they do the exact opposite. You become a slave to the system, enough your money, all they do is profit. There's no conspiracy theory, you better hear me. Crypto will set you free before the system does. I don't care if you do or you don't, but what I'm saying is the truth to the reason you choke. I never been a failure, excuse my behavior. Keep talking, haters doing me a favor. They all tell lies, I know what they been telling you. I'm the opposite, the Donald Trump of Australia. It's amazing, here for the taking. My time is never wasted, just getting wasted. These girls say I'm really breathtaking.